Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Transfer Portal CFB podcast presented by NoContextCFB. Week 7 already. Can't believe it. Season is flying by. So here's the Week 7 preview. We have Lauren from the Transfer Portal. She'll be co-host on this show. And then our special guest for this week is Moriarty of Bleacher Report. She's a college football writer, went to Florida. She's very knowledgeable. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me. I've been a huge fan of you guys for a while, so I'm happy to talk some ball with you guys.
Appreciate that. Just all the support that No Context CFB gets, really appreciate it. It means a lot. Put a lot of work into it, so all the appreciation shown is great. And Lauren, how are you doing? I know you were at the A&M Alabama game, so first off, congrats.
Wow, I'm so jealous.
I have been on cloud nine. Everyone on Monday was like, how are you doing this week? And I'm like, do I have school or something? Like, I'm doing wonderfully. So yes, incredible. Still on cloud nine. Can't wait for that Pulse episode to drop.
Yeah, congrats to you and your Zach Calzada agenda grows. You're honestly probably his biggest fan, so I know that game meant a lot to you. That game was perfect for you. We were planning on talking about the App State ULL game for a little, but ULL just tore apart App State in every facet of the game. I don't know if either of you watched it, but did you have any thoughts on that game?
So I tuned in like late in the first quarter because I was watching. I live in Atlanta, so I'm a Braves fan. So I was watching that game and I was like, oh crap, that game's also going on. And I tuned in and it was 20-3 with like the end of the first quarter. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I didn't miss much. And it just went downhill from there for App State. I mean, you turn the ball over 4 times, you can't really do much. So disappointing, but I think App State will rebound and ULM's pretty good. So, no shade there.
Yeah, ULL is a fantastic team, and it looked like App State from the jump. They were so unprepared. I've never seen an App State team that unprepared and just not ready. For a big game, too, it's shocking. Mm-hmm. And they were probably just looking ahead to Coastal next Wednesday, which you play like that, you're losing by another 60-70.
Right. I would like to see them rebound because I think that game, everyone had that circled for a while, but we'll see. I mean, tough to kind of come off of a performance like that and play Coastal for sure.
Yeah, and like Bryce had 3 turnovers. They had 4 turnovers. Cam Peoples, Lauren and I interviewed him before the season. Tremendous talent. He doesn't play again. That's like his 3rd straight game he's missed. They got to figure it out. Their run game was atrocious last night. They ran for 2.6 yards per carry. That is not App State football.
Oh, no. Brutal.
Just an uncharacteristic performance from them. We're going to move on to our next topic here since that game was a complete nothing. So as I mentioned, Lauren went to the A&M Alabama game. Have you gone to a CFB game? Have you gone to a CFB game this season, Morgan?
Yes, I actually went to the Alabama-Florida game, which was awesome. That was my first Florida game since, I think, 2019. I went to Florida, obviously, as you mentioned, in the Open. And that was so much fun. It was just so great to, first of all, have fans in the stadium and how great of a game that was. And obviously the crowd played a huge factor. The atmosphere was incredible. Didn't quite obviously pan out like I thought it would, but I was honestly shocked that Florida came back from that game. I mean, down 21-3, I was thinking, oh God, here we go again. It's another hyped up Bama game only for them to blow us out at home. But I was really impressed how they came back. Obviously, it didn't really mean much 2 weeks later because we, crapped the bed against Kentucky on the road. But it was a really fun game, and just to have the stadium packed again after last season was really awesome, and the atmosphere was so cool.
The atmosphere at that game definitely was great, but I know the atmosphere at Kyle Field this past Saturday was special. Can you tell us about that, Lauren, your experience there?
Oh, yes. So funny enough, I did call us beating Bama on Tuesday. I'm not sure if it was tired because I did camp out 15 hours for those tickets. I wasn't sure if it was because I was tired of the fact that I am obsessed with A&M football. And I was like, we're about to beat Bama. And everyone's like, go to sleep, take a nap. Everything's like, no, we're not. And I just spent the entire game crying. It was truly one of I have never just truly felt so many emotions at one point. Sunday morning, there was no voice. When Seth Small kicked that field goal, in my head, it was silent. And then I watched a video and I'm like, Lauren, there was so much noise in the stadium. Like, why were you convinced it was silent? It was one of the most incredible things I've ever been a part of. When we rushed the field, those football players, I've never seen so much joy on anyone. Oh, yeah. Wow. What a
So you
time.
did rush the field?
Yes. I grabbed my friend's hand and I was like, we're going. And she's like, all right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So super exciting. I've never, those football players really deserve that win. And it makes me so happy that, being a student at that time is truly incredible. So yeah, literally the greatest day of my life.
Definitely makes up for your first season at A&M last year, which obviously didn't go as planned, but I'm sure this you will take that to win this game and experience that.
Yeah, so. That makes up for it, I would say.
Yes. Anything. Yeah. Losing to Mike Leach at home, beating Bama.
Congrats.
Classic. That's how they drew it up.
Yes.
Congrats to you and your Aggies for that win. Hopefully y'all could build off that momentum and have the season that you plan to have. But any consolation, this was a remarkable win that a lot of us will never forget, and you definitely won't forget. So glad you got to enjoy that moment. Going into our next thing, player focus is something we do weekly on the podcast. We highlight a player that we expect to have a big game, or maybe they're having a tough matchup, or their storyline that we're following. So we'll kind of run through here, and we'll start with you, Morgan. Who's the player you're looking forward to watching this week?
So anytime Matt Corral is playing on a Saturday, I don't care who he's playing. I don't care if it's an FCS school or a directional school, whatever. That is my player to watch. This dude has been lighting defenses up all season. He's averaging like 300 yards per game in the air. And then last week against Arkansas, that game was unbelievable, by the way. I'm sure you guys saw some of that. He had like a season high 94 yards on the ground and also got like karate kicked in the face during a rushing touchdown. He's just like so much fun to watch. And he has like the intimidating eye black with the headband look, which I love. Like quarterbacks do not do that. Like I think maybe the only other one I could think of is Marcus Mariota, but I don't think he started doing that until the NFL, like that intense, like drooping, like eye black look. But he's awesome. And not only just him, like that whole offense has so many weapons around him, his receivers, Braylon Sanders, his running back, Snoop Connor, like that whole offense is loaded. And just having Matt Corral like firing off cylinders like he has all season, that anytime he plays, put him on because it will be entertaining.
And his opponent this week is Tennessee, who obviously got smacked around by Florida, and then Tennessee goes out and beats two inferior opponents, but beats them up. And now Tennessee fans are kind of talking. Yeah. They're going to be brought back to life here. From Matt Corral's going to throw all over that defense, and they'll be normal Tennessee fans once again.
You would think, right? But we'll see.
They're a pretty nutty fan base, to say the least. Lauren, who are you looking at this week?
Well, part of me really wants to avoid talking about OU football, but I'm going to go with Kennedy Brooks, the OU running back, and them facing TCU this weekend. I think it'll definitely be like an interesting little dynamic watching Zach Evans, the freshman, sophomore. Oh my gosh, I have no sense of time. And then just Kennedy Brooks, because of what Kennedy Brooks was able to do on Saturday was truly incredible. I read a stat line that his yards after like contact were still higher than like 90% of other running backs in college football this past week. So like literally insane. And just, you know, Gary Patterson likes to talk a lot. So that'll be an interesting little dynamic of how they're going to handle Kennedy Brooks this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see how Kennedy does. That TCU pass defense is definitely good. So we'll see if Oklahoma leans on the run more. Caleb Williams probably going to be starting. We'll talk about that later. My player spotlight for this week, of course, I'm going to the group of 5 after 2 weeks off because I went to the FCS back-to-back weeks. But going with the guy playing on Thursday night, NFL draft prospect who's rising, Jalen Tolbert, the receiver at South Alabama. He has 25 catches on the year for 544 yards and only 1 touchdown, which is shocking. He got that last game. I don't know why he only has 1 touchdown, but he's got 22 yards per catch. The Georgia Southern pass defense that he's facing is atrocious. It's a mess. They lost their star corner, Derek Canteen, early in the year. I view him as one of the best corners in football. He's gone. Tolbert is going to feast. He's got a huge catch radius, elite body control. He's a freak athlete. When he gets the ball in space, got good burst. He's a fun receiver to watch. Just a big play waiting to happen. So I think he's going to have a big game. I think he'll have 2+ touchdowns in this game. I think they finally get him the ball in the end zone. So this is a good showcase game for him on Thursday night. Excited to watch Jalen Tolbert.
I like it.
Thank you. Our next thing here is going to be, we're going to predict the next top 10 team to fall. The season has been so chaotic. Early in the season, we were kind of like, yo, what if this is 2007 2.0? Well, we're still not at that chaos level yet, but we're inching closer. So, I don't know. We'll start with you, Lauren. Who do you think the next top 10 team to fall is?
I literally pondered this so much. And part of me, I think I'm just going to go with this one because I don't like them at this point. I just think it'd be fun and chaotic for Ohio State to lose. That's all. I just think it would be so entertaining. I just chose chaos and not football, but yes.
You went all out for chaos there because the Buckeyes losing 2 games in regular season does not happen often. Do you have a game circle that you think that they could drop?
I just think I just look at Ohio State and then I'm like, they have things that could be exploited too much, honestly. And you look at,
the defense is rough.
Mm-hmm. And with Penn State coming up and Penn State's trying to come back and everything, there could be a little fall.
All right.
They've got a tough little road ahead.
We'll keep an eye on that one. That's definitely going to be – I think you're going to be in the minority there picking Ohio State. What do you have, Morgan?
So, surprisingly, at first I was going to pick Oklahoma. I was circling that Oklahoma State game at the end of the year, but I actually picked Ohio State as well. The rest of their schedule, obviously that Penn State game stands out, but then they close out the season with Michigan and Michigan State. Both of those teams are undefeated right now. I know they won't stay that way probably, but that's a really tough 3 games left on your schedule when you've already, your defense has a lot of problems. CJ Stroud has looked better in recent weeks, but he's had some injuries as well too. I don't feel like it's that crazy to pick them to lose 2 games with the games that they have left on their schedule. Maybe I am. But yeah, initially I was going to say Oklahoma with that Bedlam game at the end of the season that's in Stillwater, but I'll take Ohio State.
All right, so Lauren, you are not in the minority here. My bad. I was definitely mistaken. Both of you going with Ohio State, but our head was in the same place, Morgan, because I am going with Oklahoma. I think they lose this week against TCU. I think TCU is going to go into Norman and just stun them. Oklahoma coming off the highs of that Red River rivalry comeback win, so emotional. Now there's QB controversy. it looks like Caleb Williams is gonna start because some Oklahoma student had his binoculars out at practice today and was seeing that Williams was getting the first team reps, and Oklahoma panicked and they canceled all media availability and everything, which is nuts. But I mean, that
incredible journalism.
Yeah, it sums up college football at its finest. You won't find this stuff anywhere else.
Yep.
So this kind of just add on to my TCU pick. This quarterback controversy here is brutal. I think TCU is a much better team than their record shows. The losses to SMU and Texas should not be thought of so lowly. SMU is a very good team with the potent offense that they just wanted that rivalry win more. Texas is another great team. They should not have fell to Oklahoma, but whatever. I think the TCU run game is going to give OU fits. Zach Evans, if we're not talking about Bijan Robinson, we're talking about Zach Evans. In my opinion, he's the best running back in the country that is not named Bijan. So he's the second best running back in the country. He's got 74 carries for 586 and 5 touchdowns. He's running for 8 yards a carry. His balance control is absurd. His speed is nuts. He's going to be a star for the rest of the season and next season. I know he's questionable going in this game, but he should play. And then their backup running back, Keandre Miller, 34 carries for 302 and 6 touchdowns. He's been vulturing touchdowns from Zach. He's run for 9 yards a carry. This is a lethal running back duo. Their offensive line is putting in work. I think they are going to thrive in this game. And I don't think the OU offense is going to have much success in the pass game. I think that TCU defense is just going to be so motivated. They're so talented. You have so much talent everywhere. There's Hodges Tomlinson, nephew of LT. There's Noah Daniels. There's like 100 people I could name. I can't get to them all. I've spoke a lot about this, but going with TCU to just shock Oklahoma.
Wow.
I could. Wow. Yes. Also, kind of when you look at it, Oklahoma as a team right now, like, yes, you have, Spencer Rattler likely not playing, but the way that this has been broadcasted through so many people, there's a chance that this is causing a little strife within the team as well. And it could definitely be interesting to see how they react to that this weekend for sure.
It's a very good point from you there, Lauren. And then the next thing I'll ask before we get into 10 games we pick is I just want to ask each of you, like, what do you believe makes college football so special? What's the reason that you love this sport so much? We've experienced so many highs and lows already in this season. It's only been a few weeks. It's been 6 plus week 0. But I don't know, like, what would you say makes college football so special, Morgan?
I think it really just comes down to, and not to like totally bum off of the SEC's slogan that they tried to like make a thing a couple seasons ago. It just means more. It really, like, as cheesy and as like much of a meme as that saying has become, like, it really like does, not just the SEC but college football as a whole. I mean, just like fans get so like worked up over these games, and I think like to add on to that, it's not only that, but it's like just the craziest stuff can happen, like in any, like more than any sport. We've seen all these teams be upset already this season. Like you said, like we're kind of getting close to that like 2007-esque season. I feel like eventually it might become that, just given how wild this season has been through 7 weeks. So I think it's just, it separates itself from any other sport. Like the Saturday that we had last week, you don't really get that. Like great games from like the noon to 8 o'clock windows. The number 1 team goes down at the end of it. And just like the passion, like I said, the video of that Texas A&M kicker, and I'm sorry, I forget his name. The mom watching him make that game-winning field goal. Like you don't get that in any other sport. So it's just, to me, it just, the passion and the fans just make it better than anything else.
It's definitely the sport with the most passionate fans and the best atmosphere at games. You don't get these atmospheres anywhere else. And you summed it up perfectly. What makes college football so special to you, Lauren?
I think part of what makes college football so incredible is that, like, whenever you set aside, so like people always talk about how college football and like NFL so different, but like sometimes the levels of them and everything get kind of blurry. And part of what makes college football so special is like you see that camaraderie that is like gathering around a school into those college football programs. And just, Zach Calzada, for example, is in a classroom sitting there with some people on Wednesday, but on Saturday, they're like, holy cow, like I'm in business management, whatever with this boy, like what in the world? And so I think like the part of what makes athletes like so humane, I guess is the word I'm going to use, is like really you're like, this sport brings people together. And I think that's so beautiful.
I think that's another very strong answer. Not sure how I'm going to be able to top either of those. So I'll just take the cop-out answer and say college football is just different in every way possible. It's just different from every other sport on planet Earth. It's just one of a kind in every aspect. Being able to watch like Akron, Eastern Michigan, and having as much fun watching that as you could have watching Alabama, Georgia, for whatever reason. Like the sport is just different in every way. There's 130 FBS teams, and then every other level of college football. Yeah, the FCS is so much fun to watch. You have just an endless possibility of teams to watch, games to watch, matchups, players, etc., atmospheres. Like there's the 100,000 plus at Kyle Field. You could watch that. It's incredible. It's electric. The next night or in the next few nights on like a Wednesday, you could be watching Bowling Green hosting a game and there's maybe 25 people there and 22-degree weather. Like the sport is just so different.
Aaron Rodgers said, why not be romantic about football? So emphasizing.
Very, very true. So yeah, definitely enjoyed talking about CFB a little there. And now we're going to get into our 10 games for this week that we're picking. Glad to have Morgan as our guest picker. Our top record right now is 7-3. 2 people share it. So let's see if you could go 8-2, 9-1, 10-0, beat that, and we could crown a new champion. On. For sure. Our first game is Oklahoma State at Texas. We'll start with you, Morgan. Who you rolling with here?
So I am gonna, I guess, go out on a limb. I don't know if this is at this point because Oklahoma State's undefeated. I'm gonna pick Oak State in this one. I think Texas, like you said, they should not have lost that game last week. So that's gonna be like tough to recover emotionally and get ready for a really, really good opponent coming to town. I like Oklahoma State, and I'm kind of rooting for this selfishly so that we can have like a monumental bedlam at the end of the season that will like, I guess it will decide who plays in the Big 12 championship rematch, but it might just like cause some like chaos in the standings there. So we'll see.
Yeah, what's your pick, Lauren?
I will not be picking Texas. I'll be going with Oklahoma State. Basically same reason. They just went through like so much last week and they're like still, I keep seeing fans and players on Twitter acting like they're part in the Spencer Rattler drama, which I guess you played them whenever it happened, but like you lost, like stop acting like you changed their program. So I think, Texas is chaotic. So always, so no.
Yeah, very on brand for you. You would not want to pick the Longhorns. I understand that. Morgan, you spoke to a potential undefeated bedlam. We had Jack Mack of Barstool Sports on our podcast earlier in the season, and he was like, Oklahoma State is going to be they're going to be talked about in the playoff discussion later this year. Bedlam's going to be undefeated. And he got a lot of question marks for that absurd comment at the time. They were unranked. They were in close games with like Missouri State and Tulsa, and now they're here ranked in the top 15. If Bedlam happens to be where they're both undefeated, he deserves a raise or something. I don't know, because that was an outrageous call, but I'm taking Texas 38-31, putting his Pope's magical run to an end. Very excited to watch Bijan Robinson play football again. Definitely got to cherish these moments. Our next game is Auburn at Arkansas. Lauren, who do you have in this SEC clash?
As much as I don't want to pick Auburn because they're just weird right now. Like I think I said it before, Bo Nix still confuses me, and I stand by that, and I'll continue to stand by it because like how do you get benched and then like come back and like go crazy? So I'm going with Auburn, honestly, just because I feel like he's in that redemption tour, which like happy for him, go do that, but just continuing that.
Yeah, Bo Nix is definitely a roller coaster. You never know what to expect. He be rolling out and making some weird Manziel passes that don't make any sense at all. And then the next throw, he's out there airmailing it into the 25th row. But who do you have in this matchup, Morgan?
So I'm actually going to go Arkansas here, mainly because just watching that Ole Miss game last week, like the only reason Arkansas lost was they went for 2 at the end, and it was like a good decision. It was a terrible execution on the play. But I think if this game gets into like a shootout mode, I don't know if Auburn's offense has like the firepower to do that. But I love KJ Jefferson and that Arkansas offense. So I'm picking the Hogs at home.
Definitely understand that. I am going with a lower scoring game, though. I'm going with Arkansas 17-13. I think it's going to be ugly. I think Auburn's defense will play well, and they'll stop the rushing attack Arkansas has. And I don't expect Bo Nix and that offense to do much unless it's in the form of their run game and or Tank Bigsby. So I'm going to go with 17-13. Arkansas, and I think Treylon Burks is going to make a big-time play late that we all go crazy about on the Twitter sphere. Our next matchup, it's Florida, and it's LSU. LSU they're looking rough. Eli Ricks is now out for the season, and Stingley ain't there, and Kayshon Boutte, unfortunately, is done. So, Morgan, I'm sure you have your Gators in this one.
So this is coming from a like Homer Florida perspective. Like this Florida LSU series is weird every single year, no matter how good either team is, or no matter like who is supposed to win on paper. Like we've had like 3 fake field goals for a touchdown in this series, and like Florida literally threw a shoe and lost not only the game to LSU last season, but lost like a playoff spot, like legit.
Yeah.
So Florida on paper, like we should go into LSU and defeat this team that's had like so many season-ending injuries to their starters. They're obviously on a losing streak, but I'm gonna pick Florida, but very reluctantly, because like this game is just always weird, and especially it being in Baton Rouge. I don't trust Florida at all going into this game, honestly, but I'll pick them just because I don't think I like could pick against them ahead of the game on Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully nobody throws, for your sake, hopefully nobody throws a shoe like Marco Wilson did. For
Please
my
don't.
sake, I'll take it for all the content possible. Lauren, who do you have in this game?
I'm really struggling with this one, honestly. Still, I keep going back and forth because logically I really want to pick Florida. But, like, there is no need for Max Johnson to be playing football as chaotically as he is right now. And with it being in Baton Rouge, I feel like they're like, okay, guys, like, we have to win something. Our record cannot be off balance. Like, no. So I'm going to pick LSU. Probably going to regret that, but, yep.
All right, I'm going with Florida 35-17. I do think they might get off to a slow start, but I just think LSU is emotionally drained and just out of it, and Coach O's got to be on the way out. I just don't think that – I just don't know how – yeah, I just don't think they're motivated to play. I don't know. Last week I picked LSU 2 against Kentucky. I was excited. I said, again, watch Keishawn Butte play football. I'm happy. I don't even get to do that this week, so I couldn't care less about LSU. But at least Kyer Elam is going to very likely play for Florida again. So that's fun. Gotta watch the shutdown corner play. So gonna go with Florida 35-17. And we have another SEC clash to pick. It's Kentucky, Georgia. I don't know why College Game Day chose this game when it's like a 23-point spread, but whatever. Lauren, who do you have in Kentucky, Georgia?
I'm definitely going with Georgia. I am petrified of Georgia's defense personally. We imagine a room full of Georgia's defense, and I'm 90% sure one of them could step on me and kill me. That's how I feel about this game. I think that's what Georgia's going to do to Kentucky. I'm impressed with Kentucky, but this can't keep going. Georgia's terrifying. They literally, all I have to say is their defense. Kentucky's quarterback should walk home to Kentucky from Georgia. So yes, Georgia.
I think you summed it up perfectly. Morgan, who do you? I assume you have Georgia.
Yeah, I totally agree with Lauren here. That was the perfect assumption, and also the fact that Florida is playing Georgia in about 2 weeks. I'm very scared of that game. That defense is unbelievable. I would love to see Kentucky keep it close for maybe a half. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it might be a little bit different if this game was in Lexington, but it's obviously in Athens. So I think Georgia will win by at least 3 scores.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody is able. I mean, there will be teams that eventually will, but right now, I don't see how you can move the ball on this Georgia defense. They're absurd, and they still Tyke Smith still hasn't been playing much of them. When the West Virginia transfers out there, it's going to be so much tougher. It's brutal facing this defense. I think Kentucky has proved me wrong a lot. I didn't think that they would continue to sustain this level of success. The Florida win was pretty fluky. I know you agree with that, but I'm picking Georgia here 34-10. I think the Cinderella run for Kentucky comes to a close, and they're just not going to be able to move the ball. Our next matchup is going to be, we're actually not picking another SEC game. I know that's insane, but we're on to BYU at Baylor. BYU coming off a shocking loss at home to Boise State. Who do you have in BYU Baylor, Morgan?
So, yeah, like you mentioned, BYU losing to Boise State. They had 4 turnovers in that game. It's obviously hard to win a game when you turn the ball over that much. Baylor has forced 16 turnovers on the season. The Bears are 5-1. I'm picking Baylor at home. They're not ranked right now, but I think they're going to respond well, and this defense is going to capitalize on, looking at the tape, and they'll see what Boise State was able to do last week. I like Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor's definitely surprised some people in the aspect that they've got a dang good record. They really probably should be ranked. I don't have them ranked, but people who don't watch Baylor probably glance at the record and they're like, this is what's happening in Waco right now? Hello? Do you think Baylor adds on to the win column, Lauren?
Yes, I also picked Baylor. Baylor at home is a special place. It's one of my least favorite stadiums because it's weird, but Baylor kind of, 12th mans it with some of their school spirit during games and things. So I think, BYU's impact and everything, just sitting, they're coming off a loss and they're traveling to Waco, and Waco's weird, and driving there is going to put them all in a bad mood, except it does everyone. And Baylor's going to end up winning because that's a talented team. They're not really getting much talk about it either, which is even stranger. But yeah, Baylor, I definitely think, and they'll end up ranked after this week as well.
All right, we'll see if that holds true. I don't think they will end up ranked because I picked BYU. I think BYU is going to have a statement win after just utter shock and disappointment last week against Boise State. A really just inexcusable performance from them. It was it was terrible. I don't know what else to say. I'm picking BYU 31-24. I think they bounce back. I think Jaren Hall has a much better performance and doesn't turn the ball over. I don't think he'll turn it over once in this game. I'll say that. We'll move on to Pitt at Virginia Tech. Showdown in Blacksburg. Pitt has impressed this season, aside from the Western Michigan hiccup. Other than that, their offense has been super fun, and Virginia Tech's tough to play at home. Who do you see winning this game, Lauren?
I see Virginia Tech winning this game, honestly. Kind of one of those that you're like, you want to pick the home team and everything. Virginia Tech's an impressive team. Yep.
Yeah, tough to win in Blacksburg. Who do you have, Morgan?
Yeah, I'm going Virginia Tech at home as well. They, were really close to upsetting Notre Dame last week. And at this point, Justin Fuente is pretty much coaching to save his job this season. I think this will help them get over the hump. And it might also decide the Coastal as well, because Pitt and Virginia Tech are 1 and 2 in those standings right now. So I think Virginia Tech at home, the Hokies get back on track and hopefully can finish the season as Coastal champs.
Yeah, I finally agree with both of you. I have Virginia Tech. I went 28-27, so a very close game here. I think this is a really tough test for Pitt. Kenny Pickett has been sensational this season. Jordan Addison at receiver is an absolute bona fide star. Are they going to be able to go on the Blacksburg in this brutal environment and just are they going to be able to show that they're for real after, losing to Western Michigan at home is absurd. I love that WMU offense. Shouldn't be talking about them right now since we're talking about ACC teams, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech. But if Pitt wins, you deserve to be ranked. There's no other way around that. And our next game is out west. It's Fresno State at Wyoming. Morgan, who do you have here? Fresno State has looked they've been very disappointing since the win against my Bruins.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting matchup. Wyoming's defense looks pretty good, especially defending the pass. They're 12th in the country in pass yards allowed, but Jay Kaner is coming to town. So I like Fresno State in this one. Pulling off the upset and improving, like you said, kind of getting back to where they were earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm. Lauren, who do you have in this game?
I think I'm going with Wyoming. And I say think because this is one of those games that I look at and I'm like, Fresno State has talent. Wyoming has potential. I think it could definitely be a pivotal point for either team in this one, but I'll go with Wyoming. All
right, and I'm going to go with Fresno State. I think we'll see a higher scoring game. I have Fresno State 41-35. They've had their ups and downs. They played so well against Pac-12 opponents in Oregon and UCLA. Then they play Hawaii and just lose in the 2020-esque atmosphere in Hawaii. Just it's hard to play in front of nobody. It really is. And then they have Nevada next week, and that's going to be a massive game between two very good teams. So hopefully they're not looking ahead like App State was looking ahead to Coastal. I think Fresno State's going to take this one. I expect Jalen Crawford to have another big game. Ronnie Rivers, the running back, to finally have a monster game. And then, as you spoke to Morgan, Wyoming's defense, it is pretty tough. Chad Muma is the guy to watch there. The linebacker has been incredible this season. I know he has a long pick six earlier in the year. I know he won back-to-back Mountain West Player of the Week awards, so he's been very good for the Cowboys. And we're back to the SEC here because, of course, we have to keep picking SEC clashes, right? It's Ole Miss at Tennessee. We kind of spoke to it earlier. Morgan, I know you have Ole Miss in this game because you talked up Matt Corral. Why do you have Ole Miss?
Yeah, I think Tennessee's offense has improved. They look pretty good. You know, they're putting up a lot of points this season, but I don't think that they've had to kind of outscore an opponent yet. So, you know, I think their offense looks better, but I don't expect them to keep the pace with Ole Miss, with how easily that Ole Miss can just drive it down the field and score. So I think it'll probably be entertaining in the first half, but I like Ole Miss on the road, you know, to close it out in the second half by at least a couple scores. And also, like, I just would love to see the Tennessee fans' reaction, because, like, at this point, like, are they over the Lane Kiffin thing? I don't know. I'm sure Lane would love to go back to Knoxville and get a win and just, like, blow their doors off. I don't think that'll really happen. But it's going to be interesting, but I'm definitely going Ole Miss for sure.
Yeah, the Lane Kiffin storylines here going to be amazing. Lauren, who do you have?
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking Ole Miss as well. Yeah, something that I was looking through social media stats and all that. It doesn't seem like all Tennessee fans are over Lane Kiffin, and he has this little, you know, I think it was Emily that described Lane Kiffin as a frat boy, and, like, that's how I see him like approaching this game. So yes, I definitely think Matt Corral will have a big game, and that he'll continue to climb up some Heisman charts and everything with a win this weekend.
This is definitely a big game for Corral's Heisman, you know, trek to win the Heisman. There's no clear front runner right now, especially after Bryce Young and Alabama losing to A&M. Who knows is going to win the Heisman? I think Corral will have a big game, a very big game. I have Ole Miss winning 48-35. I think they're going to score a lot and often. I wouldn't be surprised if they score 50 plus again. I think Lane is going to try and run up the score. So let's just see 60 plus, Lane. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for the content we get from this game. The memes are going to be incredible. Get your popcorn ready. This is going to be a fun one. And we'll see if the Vols can hang with the big boys. And then our next game is another ACC matchup. It's another important one. It's NC State and Boston College. It's important because we know Clemson has been not Clemson. The ACC is wide open. Lauren, who do you have in NC State at Boston College?
I think I am confirmed. Really going with NC State. NC State's a talented team that I think kind of slipped over people's radars of, like, being a talented team this season. And I think they really carry that chip on their shoulder. And, you know, based on that, I think they kind of have that persona that they're going to be the team that's like, aha, Clemson's down, here we go. So NC State for sure.
We'll see if NC State could continue their upward trajectory. Morgan, do you have them?
So I actually am going to go with Boston College at home. The Eagles probably should have beaten Clemson at home a couple weeks ago. Obviously, Clemson lost to NC State earlier this season, but I like Boston College at home. They look really good. If this one was in North Carolina, maybe I might be changing my pick, but I like BC. And then we'll just have chaos in the ACC, and it'll be incredible.
I too expect that chaos in the ACC because I went with BC as well. I'm going to take them 27-23. One of these days, I'm going to get a score prediction right. Unfortunately, the one score I predicted correctly, it was Indiana, Iowa, and I didn't say the score on the podcast. That's the unreal how that works.
Oh, no.
Unreal how that works, but 27-23 BC for me. I still believe in Boston College in a magical season in Chestnut Hill, even though the injury bug has bit them. If they had Phil Yurkovich, they're undefeated. They beat Clemson for sure. And it's just not having him is brutal, but I still think they're a very good team with tons of NFL talent. On defense, Jane Woodby, the Florida State transfer, is a stud. The offensive line has monsters. Lindstrom's brother is fantastic, I think. And you have Joe Tessitore's kid as the holder. Like, this team is fun. This team is just fun. I hope that they could win 9-10 games even without Yurkovich. And Zay Flowers is just a monster at receiver. You have to give him props. That kid is an absurdly good player. So gonna go with BC here, and they'll be ranked after this win, which is crazy considering they lost Yurkovich earlier in the season. And our next game is our last game. It's one of the last games of the night, Pac-12 after dark, ASU at Utah. Utah has underperformed expectations. They have been bad. Morgan, who do you have winning ASU Utah?
I'm going to go Arizona State at home. I can't say that I've actively watched much of ASU play because I'm on the East Coast and they kick off all their games at 10:30 at night. But I like Arizona State at home. They're 5-1. They looks like they have control of the Pac-12 South, so I like them at home.
All right. Well,
or sorry, they're on the road. My bad.
They are on the road,
but I like Arizona State.
You never have control of the Pac-12. It is the most absurd, chaotic conference. You never have control.
Pac-12 South.
Maybe, but you never know. You really never know in this conference. We've seen absurd things happen. Lauren, who do you have winning this one?
I'm going with Arizona State as well. I think they're a talented team and they'll keep it up. Just taking down Utah at home will really just help to boost them, even though they're in a downtime. Should, continue to gain their traction of looking good and leading that conference at the moment.
All right. Now, this game is interesting because it's not just ASU and Utah fans that have done this. It's Pac-12 fans. There's been a charge to make this a rivalry game. They want this to be a rivalry game so bad. There is a lot of hatred between these two, which I don't think many people know or realize. I'm going to go with ASU here, 35-28 in this rivalry game. I'm tripping right now. I don't know if we've come up with a name for this. I know it's been for years that we're trying to figure one out. So I don't know if there's a name for it. I know there's been so
not
much
official
talk.
Until they have a trophy.
That's very true. They need a trophy. They could come up with something good, but no, these two teams do hate each other. The fan bases hate each other. Pac-12 Twitter is nuts, to say the least. I know you mentioned you haven't watched much Pac-12 football because we do be kicking off very late out here in the West Coast, but ASU is a really fun team. Their one loss is to BYU, which BYU is a very good team too. BYU is 3-0 against the Pac-12 South. Now, ASU is a good team. Their pass defense is very good. Merlin Robertson at linebacker, I think, is a future NFL linebacker. His work in pass coverage and against the run, very good. I think he's stud. And I think they have really good corners. We saw Jack Jones. He made that play last week where he intercepted the pass and then his back was turned to the end zone and he pitched it back to DeAndre Pierce, who ended up housing the touchdown. Just a heads up smart play that we saw Darius Leonard of the Colts do on Monday Night Football. He copied college football. We did it first. Yeah, I just can't bring myself to picking Utah here. I'm going to go with ASU. I think their run game is nasty too. They got 3 good running backs in Rashad White, DeMonte Chip Trianum, and Nada. I'm tripping on his first name, but Nada's pretty good too. So going to go with ASU 35-28. That's it for our picks. So hopefully you could go 10-0, Morgan, or 9-1 or 8-2. Hopefully 10-0 though. Yeah, definitely need a new champ. Need a new champ for sure. And
I'm feeling pretty confident, but we'll see.
I think you have good picks. We'll see though for sure. And then we'll just ask you a few questions real quick since we have a few minutes. Lauren, would you like to ask the first question?
Sure. How did you get into sports and college football as a whole in that industry?
Yeah, so I grew up around the sport pretty much. My mom went to Florida, which is why, I grew up a Florida fan. My dad played college ball out in North Dakota. So growing up, we always had college football on the TV on Saturdays. And then when I went to the University of Florida, initially I thought I would do sports medicine which I laugh at now because like I'm terrible at math and science, like just awful. So when I was there, you know, Florida has a pretty good journalism program. I just thought, why don't I just try it out and see if I'm any good at it? So that was a long time ago. That was like, I graduated 2015. So about 6 years ago. You know, I was able to work full time with SB Nation after college, and now I'm with Bleacher Report. So just kind of like started doing internships and writing places here and there. Just kind of led into more and more gigs throughout college. So really fortunate and blessed to cover such a fun sport.
You're definitely doing big things in the college football industry. Your work for Bleacher Report, very good. Hopefully people are, reading a lot and taking like notes of what you're saying and listening. Listening is very important. Always listen to us. If you're on this podcast, you have to listen to us because we're sparse there is, plain and simple. Let's see. I did want to ask because you are a good supporter of NoContextCFB, so I of course appreciate that. What's your like favorite college football meme?
Oh God, great question, because there's so many. I feel like I'm gonna have to go because like it's so relevant right now. I'm gonna have to go the Urban Meyer eating Papa John's pizza after the Big Ten championship loss. That's probably my favorite. That and the Christian McCaffrey Heisman fan yelling in the background. Those two are up there, but there's so many that I could pick.
There's definitely a lot. I don't know, Lauren, do you have one?
I don't even know. I honestly love a good like surrender Cobra moment from the fans. If I see people next to me at a game, I'm like, get down. But I think that honestly just has to be it. It just gets me every time, and people's faces and everything. It just takes me out. You know, I laugh every time. I do.
Everyone's got to love a good surrender Cobra. And then I'll let you ask your next question, Lauren.
Of course. So what advice do you have for women who want to get into the college football world?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think I would just say, don't try to do stuff that's like out of your comfort zone. And when I say that, like the way that I covered the sport, I was never going to be like an X's and O's, film breakdown type of person. Obviously, like, I don't have the means to do that. But just, if you're passionate about the sport, like there's so many ways to cover the sport when you haven't really played it. Just tap into that and just keep practicing your craft, whether that's writing or TV or podcasting or a little bit of both. Just keep practicing that, and also just don't be intimidated, because the male beat writers and colleagues that are in those rooms like probably don't know as much as you think that they would know. Like the knowledge difference isn't really that different. So just have confidence in yourself and just do good work, and you'll be found, and good work is discovered regardless of if you're a male or a female. So
I think that's I think that's very good advice, especially for people to know that like whether you're a boy or the knowledge just because they're a dude doesn't mean that they're more knowledgeable. There's plenty more knowledgeable women than men.
And also, I mean, the biggest thing to me is like people look at football as the whole as like this big complicated game with all these different terminologies, but like it's really not. Like it's 11 on 11. Like you don't have to have played the sport to understand what it is. It's not as complicated as some analysts make it out to seem. So I don't know if that's like good advice what I gave, but just be confident, and you probably will be like one of the few women in the room, which might be a little discouraging, but don't let that get to you.
No, I think it's very good advice that you just gave, and I hope that people that are listening to this definitely listen to that, because I think it really is good advice, and most of the women that are in college football do such a good job. So that's obviously very good to have. And going into our last question for you, so many highlights and lowlights that we experience as college football fans. What's your favorite moment that you've experienced, and then your least favorite?
Like in college football, like as a whole?
Yeah, you could have been at the game or could have been watching on TV or whatever it be.
So I would say this kind of ties into like me deciding to cover college football. The 2011 game between Oklahoma State and Iowa State. That was like a Friday night game. It was in November. That was when Oak State had Brandon Weeden. I think it was like Oklahoma State was like top 5 or maybe even like higher than that. They were supposed to win the BCS that season, right? They were undefeated. They go into Ames on the road. That game is incredible. Iowa State upsets Oklahoma State and then basically creates a domino effect that season, kind of creating that rematch between LSU and Alabama. I think that like opened the floodgates to creating the college football playoff, having that happen. And when that game was happening, I was like home in my dorm room because I was a freshman at UF. I was like sick in bed watching that game, and just the atmosphere, the fans rushed the field. I just kind of like said to myself, like, why am I not trying to do this? Like, I want to cover this sport. Like, I know this sport, like I can do it. And so I really like, sounds like cheesy and crazy, but like that game kind of like pushed me to look into journalism at UF and pursue it. So I would say that as my high.
That's a great one. That's definitely a memorable game. I've tweeted the picture from that game, and then kind of the BCS standings, and Oklahoma State fans were livid with me, and they were livid with the BCS system. So definitely a great game, an emotional one, because I believe that was the one where Oklahoma State had there was the plane crash connection. I think that was the game. I was like 14
I think
during
so.
that game, so I was a youngin'. But yeah, what's your least favorite moment?
My least favorite. So like recently, obviously we talked about Marco Wilson and throwing a shoe. That might be my low, but it also at the time, like I was laughing because it was just like so typical of the Florida LSU rivalry, and like just so typical of Florida. Like, yes, we've looked a lot better under Dan Mullen, but like there's still just like weird juju like that we have happened to us. Like we were literally, if we had won out, like we could have gone to the college football playoff last season, and because Marco Wilson threw a shoe, that was it. And also like the ref like saying the penalty, the player through the other player's shoe is like so funny to me. That would be my low, but it's like a funny low just because I think I'm just sensitized to Florida football losing like that.
That makes a lot of sense, because I'm the same way with UCLA. Where just if something funny happens, I'm numb to the pain now. I'm like, it's just, we've lost to Fresno State like 4 or 5 straight times, whatever it is. We're just numb to the pain. Like, it's just funny at this point. It's comical. Yeah, so that'll do it for us. That'll do it for this episode. Appreciate you coming on here, Morgan, and speaking CFB with us. Very knowledgeable and had a lot of good things to say. Hope people listen to you, listen to Lauren, listen to me, and kind of, just listen to what we had to say and took what we had to say, and trust our knowledge. That's what I'm looking for. Trust our knowledge, because these two.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is, like I said, I've been a huge fan of you guys, and you got a great thing going here with this pod. So happy to come on, and hopefully we'll have a good weekend like we did last week.
Oh, if it's half as good as it was last week, we're gonna have another very memorable weekend of college football. Hopefully a top 5 team goes down.
Absolutely.
Let's have that. Let's have Oklahoma, you're on the chopping block. So yeah, thank you, Morgan, and thank you, Lauren, for co-hosting this. Appreciate you. I know you missed class for this.
Don't tell my professor.
Star student.
So yeah, just if you're still listening right now, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, Apple, whatever it be. Leave a like, leave a comment, follow us on Twitter. We'll have everyone's Twitter on the graphics. So yeah, just thank you for your support and everything. We'll see you on our next episode. I believe we're going to have a Georgia-Kentucky preview from Brian and Doug. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, we'll catch you later. Thank you.